Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear, and this is a show and tell video on the Sigs Sauer 220 Super Match. Now I bought this gun back in fall of 2007, and they were advertising this gun as the epitome of what they could do with the 220 design. Okay, this is a target weapon. It's a little bit larger. It has a 5-inch barrel. I'll go over the specs in a minute. But this was a custom shop gun. This was hand-fitted parts, and it was supposed to be the top of the line 45 that they manufactured. All right, talking about the specs of the gun as I got them off the website, the length of the weapon is 8.92 inches. The overall height is 5.50 inches. The overall width of the weapon is 1.6 inches. And the weight is 33.6 ounces. Okay, it has a 5-inch target barrel, and yes, the gun is empty. There's no magazine in there, and it has been safety checked and re-safety checked. Okay, those dimensions are very similar to one of my favorites, the 1911. This is a Kimber Gold Combat, and this is also a custom shot gun. Now I'll go ahead and show you really quickly that this gun is also empty. Okay, when you look at the specs, when you look at the two guns together, they're very similar. All right, can't quite get them together. The length is almost the same. The Sig Sauer is just a little bit longer. Okay, the height is very comparable, just about even. But what's really the difference between the two is, if you can tell, is the width of the two handguns. Okay. In my opinion, that's a strong point for the 1911 design, even though this is a much heavier gun, because this gun does have an aluminum frame. This is a stainless steel frame. It's thin, and it's been my experience that thin guns are easier to conceal than thick guns. Smaller, thicker handguns, to me, sometimes are a little bit more difficult to conceal under a t-shirt or something of that nature than a thinner gun. But that's that's been my experience, and other folks may feel otherwise. Let's get back to this gun. Now this gun, because it is a target gun, it has target sights, okay, and these are rear adjustable, and the front sight has tritium. So this gun is basically designed to be at home on the range or in a defensive role. Okay, it has an accessory rail that you can put lights and lasers on. It is single action only, okay? And to give you a quick rundown on what that means is, single action only means the hammer has to be cocked. Then when you depress the safety and you begin to press the trigger, the weapon fires, the action slides and cocks the hammer again, okay? So it is a single action gun, very similar to the 1911. But the trigger is awful. The trigger is absolutely awful. It is long, it has creep, it has over travel, it is mushy. Everything that you've ever heard when somebody describes a bad trigger, this trigger has. And it's not just this gun. I have fired other single action only Sigs that were based off of their P series, and they're basically all the same. Okay? Their trigger sucks in the single action only. All right, well, that's a big negative. Another negative is the grips. They were very poorly fitted to the handgun, very poorly fitted. I even sent them back to Sig Sauer, the gun and the grips, and they came back and they were just poorly done. That was a disappointment to me. At any rate, like I said before, it has an aluminum frame. It's a stainless steel slide, and it is a bit front heavy, and that's good in my opinion. That's good in my opinion. I like a front heavy gun, and it has a beaver tail style thing protruding here. It's not a grip safety like on a 1911, but the shape of it is. This is very similar to their Elite series of guns. Okay, so I do like it. I do like the way it feels. I like to climb right up on that when I shoot the gun. And while I got the gun gripped here, let me go over something else that to me was a negative. Okay, and that is shooting 1911s, I ride my thumb on the top of the safety, okay, on that little shelf, all right? And when I grip the handgun and fire it, okay, what happens, because I've always had to do something with my thumbs. My thumbs are part of it, or part of my grip. This sometimes holds down on this slide release, and what happens is after the last round, the slide moves forward. It doesn't lock back. Now that is not Sig's fault, but I do think that that maybe that was a design failure. Okay, to have that so close to the safety. But that's my opinion. Other folks may feel differently, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. The gun comes with two 8-round magazines, and you can get 10-round magazines. Sig Sauer parts are not cheap. They're expensive. But it's worth it. This is a good gun. I don't want this to be a negative review. I think highly of this gun. And here's the reason why. Along with in the box with the gun comes a target. And take a look at that group. Okay, here's my thumb. My thumb can cover up 4 rounds. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 with one flyer. 4.4 and 1 is something that's often associated with semi-automatics. I don't know why. People have been writing about it for years. But as you can see, this is Sig Arms custom shot, 25-meter pistol target. It has my serial number here, the date that it was tested, and even the signature of the individual who tested it. Okay, this is why I bought this gun. It is an accurate gun. When I called Sig and talked to some individuals back there in the custom shop, I asked them how did they do the testing, and they did use a machine rest. Okay, so this is what I would call mechanical accuracy. All right, practical accuracy hasn't come close to that yet. Either resting the gun on sandbags or standing and shooting, I have not been able to come close to those kind of groups. And before you all say, well, Van, that's because you suck. Well, some of that is true. Some of that is true. But I have a lot of 45s, okay? And this is one of my most expensive 45s. And yet I have a gun that I have a couple of guns that I only paid $800 for that are much more accurate than that. And it's hard to explain that. I think some of it is due to the horrible trigger. When you're used to a crisp 1911 trigger and you try this trigger, you will be disappointed. But even fighting through that and shooting the gun exclusively for a while and getting used to the trigger, I have not been able to match that kind of accuracy. But it is still quite accurate. You know, trying to get 1 inch out of a gun at 25 meters, a handgun, is not an easy task. So, you know, with that, that's all I want to say about that. We'll say a few things. Final thoughts. If they want to improve their accuracy, of course, I think they need to work on their trigger first. The sights are good sights. It's kind of popular with gun writers and trainers, not with me, having just one tritium post on the front and not in the back. Me personally, I like to have the tritium sights in the back. I would like to see them add that in the future. And I had to say, their customer service is wonderful. The people that I dealt with were very kind. They were responsive. But, don't send, when a customer calls and complains about something and you take the weapon back to fix it, don't do a half-assed job. And my opinion is they did a half-assed job with these grips. Okay? And that's really all I want to say about that. I have negative thoughts about the U.S. manufacturing of Sig Arms in the United States. I am not anti-United States at all. I believe that we need to spend a lot of time and effort to return manufacturing to the United States, but we also need to be the best. The German Sig Sauer company has built a fine reputation, okay, and they have turned out a lot of fine weapons. And the few weapons that I have from Sig Sauer that are American manufactured fall short of that. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Maybe I'll do a video sometime and show you exactly what I'm talking about. At any rate, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment or ask me, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. With that, thanks and goodbye.